What if the secret to transforming your school culture isn't a new behavior system or a motivational assembly, but something deeper? What if the key is helping learners live their why through real-world learning that actually matters? Today, we're talking about how project-based learning isn't just an instructional strategy. It's a culture-shifting force, and I'll show you how it can change your school just like it changed mine. So stick around for stories, real data, and clear takeaways you can use starting tomorrow. Let's go. Our first big idea of why we're using PBL to create a positive school culture is that culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's a quote often attributed to Peter Drucker, management guru. And the point is that you might have a great curriculum, you might have a great instructional model, but your culture is what's really going to drive your results. We say that we want our learners to be problem solvers, collaborators, and critical thinkers, but our traditional school systems often create compliance, not confidence, passivity, not empowerment. And this is where PBL steps in, because when you build a school around inquiry, authenticity, and learner voice, you don't just teach content, you build community. So let me give you a real story. Skylar was a kid that was in my classroom, and he was that kid that you have, and I know you have a Skylar. He's skating through school with zero motivation, but you know he's full of potential. Until he landed in a PBL classroom, he was just skating by, literally skateboarding with his buddies and getting free meals. But when he found a PBL classroom, suddenly he was solving real problems. He was creating content and realizing that his voice mattered. He was registering kids to vote. He was creating documents that went into doctors' offices. He was rewriting museum curriculum that other schools would actually use. With the why behind his work and this powerful culture, he turned around academically and became empowered because the school felt psychologically safe to him. It was a place to find yourself. And in his words, it feels like family. Once he had the empowerment and purpose, he picked up a camera and started capturing nature, just his buddies at state parks. Well, his Instagram account popped up with Time magazine, and they decided that he had the top Instagram account in the state of Indiana. 2 years running. Completely changed the trajectory of his life. He went from a kid that was one of our 75% free and reduced lunch population. Now he's a freelance photographer in Los Angeles, shooting photos for Nike, Monster Energy drink, and a ton of local rappers in scenes I don't even understand. But this isn't just a success story. That's school culture redefined, because PBL gave Skylar purpose, and purpose fuels culture. What's our next big idea? Here's the deal. When learners see that school connects to the real world, they show up differently. Because you might be thinking, well, my kids can't do that. But once you make the shift in culture, they show up differently. You see, PBL empowers them to take ownership in their classroom, and the learning becomes theirs. They're working with community partners, so they're collaborating with adults. They learn how to interact appropriately and professionally with adults, and they know that their work matters. They start to reflect deeply on the experiences they're having, the content they're creating and consuming, the skills they're building. And we know from John Maxwell that experience isn't the best teacher, but evaluated experience is the best teacher, because all the best learning happens in reflection. As you pursue meaningful outcomes in these classrooms, your learners are finding that they're passionate about things. They know what their purpose is. I'm not sure that there's a more important calling for us as educators than to help our youth find their purpose. When learners feel seen, heard, and valued, school just feels differently. And it's not just for the students. We see teachers become reinvigorated with their purpose. As they're teaching PBL, it completely shifts their mindset in the classroom. It's the way they've always wanted to teach. If you grab the book Life's a Project from Andrew Larson, you can see that he was in a traditional biology classroom, and it wasn't going to hold him there much longer. But he got into a project-based learning environment, one of the coolest environments I've ever seen. It's one of our PBL model schools, and suddenly the staff's leading together. The staff's voting together. They're dreaming big together, and they have a PBL culture that still goes on after a decade of this work. Hey, quick sidebar. If this is hitting home for you, if you're starting to get fired up like I am, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps other educators find this content and join the movement towards meaningful learning. Let's jump back in. How do you create this kind of culture in your school? I'm going to give you 3 practical steps. Number 1, start with why. You can use Simon Sinek's Golden Circle. There's also a YouTube video by Michael Jr. I like to use either one of those, but it helps your team and your learners articulate their why for why they're here, not just what they do. Your teachers know what they do, but we want to stir up their why. Use the 5-minute version of Simon Sinek's YouTube talk. It'll work. It still lands. I've been using it for a decade, but it still lands. So then you're going to embed the 6 A's of PBL from Life's a Project. Grab that book by Andrew Larson. Authenticity. It's those real-world problems that are the secret sauce to PBL. Active exploration. Number 2, we need to use our new skills in a real setting for them to solidify. Our learners can't just take the knowledge in and have it spit out as skills. Very connected is applied learning, the 3rd A. Move learning from theoretical words on a page to application. You still are going to have rigor, so you need academic rigor. We're not avoiding rigor with PBL, quite the opposite. We're going deeper than just covering standards. The 5th A is assessment practices. What does a C mean in your classroom? What do grades really mean from classroom to classroom? And the 6th A is adult relationships. Those community partners are the cornerstone to affecting your culture and bringing authenticity into your school and your classrooms. You won't hit all 6 of these 6 A's every time, but it gives you a guide to see how engaging and empowering your classrooms are. If you're missing some of these, you can bring them in and it starts to build that culture. The other thing you want to do is celebrate wins. Publicly highlight learner growth. Showcase final products. Let the community come in and see the real results of the learning. When you celebrate what's important to you, your teachers and your learners take note and they do more of those things. So celebrate often and celebrate on purpose. If we circle back to Skylar's journey from skating through to living his dreams, so where does that start? What was his aha moment? Oddly enough, it might not be as exciting as you think because it's really a leadership team who believed that learning needed to be meaningful and purposeful and have a why behind it. A leadership team that created space for failure, growth, and discovery. A leadership team that believed in the power of planning, structure, and continuous improvement to empower all learners. That doesn't seem super exciting, but that's the work that we're in. We're building structures for your teachers to go and teach the way they've always wanted to teach, and your students to become inspired and empowered. If you want a school culture where learners thrive, educators are energized, and learning comes alive, project-based learning is your path. For an outline of the 3-year process and how to make PBL sustainable in your school, check out some of the resources in the description. You can go to pblmasterclass.com, pblmasterclass.com to get the full 3-year process. Go lead inspired.